Minnesota. My name is Rahana.
And I'm Alan.
And today we have a wonderful guest, Alex Galick, with us here today. Hi, Alex. Thanks for coming in.
Hello, Rahana and Alan. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We're excited about this. We're going to jump right in with some fun non-film questions first. So, Alex, what mythical creature do you think would be really cool if it actually existed?
I would say Chimera, because it has a cool name, and it's a mix of different creatures. And I think as a performer of mixed ethnicity, it speaks to me.
So what is it exactly? Like what creatures is it mixed of?
Oh goodness, I can't remember. Oh, if only I had
Pop
the
quiz.
Yeah, it's a mixture of a couple different things.
Something alien, right?
Yeah, it's like a fire-breathing female monster with a lion's head, a goat's body, and a serpent's tail. And that is compliments of the internet. The New Oxford American Dictionary.
Well, that sounds terrifying, but cool.
Yes, terrifyingly cool.
Yeah.
Which is what I look for in performances.
That sounds like something Michael Scott described creating or something.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. If someone was able to narrate your life, who would you want to be the narrator?
I feel like the usual answer would be Morgan Freeman.
Yep.
But
Ooh.
I need to go against this because I am not like everyone else here. So I would really like. I think Tilda Swinton should do it.
Interesting.
Nice.
Because I've seen her work on camera, and I think she could do good voice work.
She has. She's, I think it was Men, Women, and Children. She had a voiceover.
Really?
I'm writing it down.
Good idea.
That's got Adam Sandler in it, oddly enough.
Men, Women, and Children. What?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of that. I'll have to look that up too.
The way she described things, and they're just such, it's so, the way she's so proper with her words, and it's just what she's describing is just, okay.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it.
All right. And then the question of the day is, what is a random, fun, hidden talent that you have?
So I play piano.
Cool.
I'm sort of an amateur when it comes to tickling the ivories. So I play little ditties here and there. I'm no Rachmaninoff, but I enjoy playing a song or two and maybe singing to it as well. But yeah, so there we go.
All right, that's awesome. Kind of wish we had like a little piano in here for you.
Yeah.
Next time.
Show
next
it.
time.
Next time, yeah. I will have to bring the piano with next time.
When we have a reunion party with all the podcast people, we'll have to have a piano. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a
Lovely.
must. All right, well, let's dive in.
Yeah.
So, Alex, tell us how you got started in film.
The total accident. Well, actually, let me back that up. So, how I got started in acting.
Yes.
A bit of an accident there. I used to play soccer in high school, and I ended up injuring my ankle. I got a nasty hairline fracture. They're not like life-threatening, but they hurt.
Yeah.
So it was the middle of the season, and I was like, Coach, this is really bothering me. I think I'm going to sit this season out. So then I didn't have an activity that fall, and I saw that a bunch of my friends were performing in a musical. Man, what was it? What is it? Fiddler on the Roof.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
A bunch of my
Yep.
friends were in Fiddler on the Roof. I saw the performance. I said, wow, that looks like fun. I would like to try that. So I ended up exploring it, meeting with the theater director of my high school, and we really hit it off, and was in a couple of productions there, and that was the end of my junior year in high school, and I just sort of ran that out and went to school for theater, went to grad school for theater, and did some short films here and there. I've just been riding that wave. I guess the first film production that I've done was a feature-length film I did in New Orleans. I played a waiter in the horror film Fractured by Adam Girash. So if people are loading up on trivia, that is the first production I am in. It's very quick, but it's the start of what I have now.
What brought you to New Orleans to do that? Or were you living there at the time?
Yeah, I went to grad school in Baton Rouge.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I went to LSU. They had a 3-year acting program, a MFA, master's program in acting. So it gave me the chance to take classes, teach classes, and also perform with the professional theater company there on campus called the Swine Palace. The name really sticks out.
Yeah.
It was housed in an old pig judging pavilion.
Oh, wow.
On campus. So
They'll get what they can take.
Yeah. Repurposed spaces are very useful. So that's why I was in Louisiana, and I stayed there another year, and that's where I got that film gig. At the time, there were some very generous subsidies for film production, film and TV production in Louisiana, and so I was pursuing some of that and found it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Have you filmed anywhere else in the U.S. or world outside of Minnesota and Louisiana?
Yeah. I did a short bit in Michigan for a up-and-coming web series called Electron Blade. It's a science fiction web series. They filmed us in front of green screens, and they have a crack team building some amazing-looking special effects. So I don't know what the finished product's going to look like, but it's going to be cool, guys.
Nice.
So that was a year and a half ago, but yeah, they are they're building a whole world and painting this green screen with this gorgeous canvas. So that's one production. I also went to Michigan a separate time for a horror film called Ruin Me. It is now on Shudder, AMC's streaming service, all horror all the time. It's so the film is it appeals to both a comic horror fandom as well as a thriller sort of Fincher-esque kind of WTF kind of loving audience. So I played a smaller role in that, a smaller supporting role. Where else have I worked? This last weekend, I was in Iowa, in Mount Vernon, Iowa, for a short film by the director Michael Bergen. And this film is called The Eidolon Inquest. It's a ghost story. We spent some time filming in a barn in Mount Vernon. It was cold, but I think we got some nice scary footage. So keep watching for that. Yeah, those are outside of Minnesota productions. Those are kind of the stuff that I've done.
Absolutely. Well, what kind of keeps you here in Minnesota acting? Like, what do you like so much about maybe the community or just the process of filmmaking and acting here in Minnesota?
Well, not only is there a well of talent, we have a lot of actors here. We have a lot of stages, places to perform. So I am trained as a stage actor, so I like to perform on stage. And I find this market gives me the opportunity to do that. This last summer I was in a production in Stillwater with the Zephyr Theater Company doing Twelfth Night, which is a Shakespeare play, played Sir Andrew Aguecheek. So there's the stage productions. There's also productions, larger productions. There's indie films. There's also industrial videos, internal videos that companies use for employee training. And there's some nice, I think, up-and-coming web series. This web series, Theater People, It's an award-winning web series here in the Twin Cities. It draws from the well of actors and production and crew that we have here, and creates some nice work. So I think because of the opportunity that's here, and the relatively low rent price, is a reason to stay, a reason to explore further what can be done here in Minnesota.
Absolutely.
Right. Do you have any favorite actors that you admire or look up to?
Well, I talked a little bit earlier about Tilda Swinton, and I cannot sing her praises enough. I really love her work. I think she's great in Constantine, with Keanu Reeves.
Yep.
Say what you will about the production. Whenever she's on screen, you're drawn to that character. She finds a way to make these intriguing character choices. And the first rule of acting is don't be boring. Right?
Yeah.
And she passes that with flying colors. I love her in there is the Only Lovers Left Alive, a Jim Jarmusch film about vampires. She's great in that too. Once again, great actor choices. I think she just makes these as an actor, I can see that she is making very smart, very informed, very well thought out choices, and I'm really looking forward to seeing her work in the remake of Suspiria. Playing multiple characters. And she's great in Snowpiercer. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So good.
So good. I could go on and on, but I won't. So just Tilda Swinton. She's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, do you have a favorite film, maybe of hers, maybe just in general of all time, that you enjoy watching that maybe inspires you, or is maybe just something that's important to you and brings out a lot of nostalgia?
Well, when it comes to nostalgia, I will say, I like my guilty pleasure is Back to the Future.
We were just talking about that.
Yeah, we were just talking about that, yeah.
Robert Zemeckis, I don't know what happened. It was just the confluence of a lot of things that made that movie just eminently watchable and enjoyable.
That's the power of love.
I know.
Yes.
It like I used to watch it all the time as a kid on road trips, and like I memorized all the lines at one point. Not anymore. I use that for work now. Every once in a while I come back and I'm just like, this is one kooky piece of work.
Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah,
absolutely. So would you qualify that as your favorite film of all time, do you think? I mean, not that that's ever like a fair question, especially as an actor or filmmaker. Yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody has one favorite film, but
it's tough to I think it definitely plays on the nostalgia. Yeah. Because there's a very specific, experience of my childhood that I'm sort of reliving vicariously through watching that film.
Yeah.
Man, favorite films. Guys,
who's number one?
That's a tough question.
Number one?
I feel like I
know you have a
Desert
list at
Island.
home.
This is a desert island situation.
A desert island situation. Which movie will you bring
and watch
to
every
this
day
island?
for the rest of your life?
Every day? My goodness. I am a big fan of Chris Nolan's work, but I can't pick just one.
Yeah.
But if I'm on a desert island, I don't know. I kind of want something I don't know if they're not really feel good movies. I'm gonna be watching Memento and be like, what's going on from day to day?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna say Memento. I like Memento because I feel like it plays with time. It's a thing that I like about that work and a lot of Tarantino's work, that you have a beginning, a middle, and end, but not necessarily in that order.
Yeah.
And still, it can fulfill the dramatic structure that we've come accustomed to. That's handed down to us from the Greeks and Shakespeare and now in film, right? So we have, I think that's an excellent way to explode the form of filmmaking and create something new and exciting, and drop the audience into a an sort of alien world and get them, really inhabiting the world of that character. Mm-hmm. I like the novelty of that.
Yeah. Do you? Oh, go ahead.
What was or what is your maybe a role in filmmaking that intrigues you the most?
I like what the directors of photography do. They are painting these pictures with lenses. Mm-hmm. It looks like alchemy to me, because I don't know anything about how they create these these beautiful moving images and all that, and I see it and I'm just like, there's an actor. I know what they're doing, but whatever this camera guy is doing, it's amazing to me. So I just in awe of what those guys do with cameras, putting them on jibs or like rotating them on some electronic mechanism, or carrying them on their shoulders. Yeah. Camera ops carrying these things, they're not light. I am just intrigued by the strength of will, and sometimes raw strength needed for and the foresight needed to create this work that the camera department and the director of photography do.
Do you have a role on the film set that you haven't been a part of before, that you're actually maybe a little intrigued to try out, or someday that's maybe a goal, like, hey, I'm gonna do that someday, even if it's just once? Like
not just an actor, but like production assistant, working in catering,
writing,
or
producing, editing, like anything.
So I like writing. Mm-hmm. I had the chance to write some material for another web series, Racially Ambiguous Duo. It's a web series I do with my friend Toussaint Morrison. Mm-hmm. Him and his company, Urban Home Cinema, are creating a bunch of online content, and one of those projects was or is Racially Ambiguous Duo, and I like brainstorming with him and creating stories for these characters that we've built, playing on racial themes and our modern epoch, but dealing with the subject matter in sometimes serious, but also in comedic ways. And I like that process of discovery. Mm-hmm. So I've done a little bit of that, and I'm interested in doing more, mm-hmm. In exploring how a project is built in the writing room. Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, so going off of that,
dramatic pause.
So in writing for, say, a show like that, and touching on racial terms and things that are going on today, how important do you think that is to maybe take things that are happening today in the world, especially in our climate here in the U.S., mm-hmm. and maybe really bringing them up and talking about them on a show like that?
Well, it's an opportunity to do so, especially with web content, which is very accessible. It's not behind a paywall usually, and you want to make sure that you have a built-in audience, and people want to grapple with these things in a non traditional way. Mm-hmm. The people have been hearing ad nauseum on the news about what's going on, mm-hmm. in day-to-day life, and entertainment has a way of taking the same material and building entertainment from it that can still elucidate something, but is not as heavy-hitting as, say, a news broadcast. Mm-hmm. So I think it's very important for art to be of the moment, or of the current zeitgeist, I mean, even science fiction or fantasy, I mean, they take place in worlds that don't exist, but still they have to relate to us in our current moment, or us in the world. Why is Shakespeare still done? Because it has to do with family. And yes, these are families that are have power over whole states, but there's still, the times you're angry at your uncle, or you have family squabbles with your siblings. You might not kill them in a battle like War of the Roses or something like that, but everyone has those kind of family conflicts. And so art has to relate to the person on their personal level,
right?
On what they deal with. So yes, I kind of rambled a little bit, but
it's okay.
Art has to grapple with things that people do.
Absolutely.
Well, talk about your acting, like for acting, your process. Like, what do you do to get into a role, and then maybe what is your favorite part of that process?
Yeah. So you look at a script, talk to the director, get whatever information you can about the world of the project. If it is a one-off character that shows up in like one scene or two scenes, you have very little time to establish how that character operates. In a way, it is a gift because you can bring a lot to that and create something fascinating. Another reason I like what Tilda Swinton does. But when you have a lead role, a larger role that kind of is the story that's the backbone of the project, then you really have to delve in deep and see what is this. There's the basic actor homework. What does this character want? What's in their way? And how do they go about getting what they want? And then what's the circumstances of the world that they live in? How do they navigate that world? That basic information is the nugget of the work, and then the rest is kind of dressing that skeleton, building out, putting flesh on the bone, making sure that in addition to that, this is also a living, breathing human being who brushes their teeth and gets hungry and tired. And lives and breathes. Yeah.
Right.
Do you have a specific role that you've done that stands out more for you? Like was more important, maybe not important. Shouldn't say, but all roles are important. But really meant a lot to you, and is maybe your favorite role that you've taken on, whether it's because it was more creative and gave you more room to do what you wanted to, or it was just an exciting production or something.
I will say, I really liked the process of working on Apocalypse. It's a hockey zombie horror comedy. Yep. Not necessarily a dramatic piece of work, but we had a very clear story, a very clear skeleton framework to the production, and we as the actors were really enticed to bring what we could to that production. We worked out dialogue. We worked on bits. The director gave us a lot of leeway, and because of that, I think the production is made better when. And this is specific to this production. There may be other things where the director has a very specific, idea that they want to create, and they need to exercise more control over that. this is a comedy, and the first rule of comedy is make people laugh, right? Or don't be boring. That's acting. Well, So we're working on creating these bits and bringing a lot of ourselves and what makes us excited as performers, bringing that to the work. I like that opportunity to explore in a production setting, because I've been on productions where the words on the page are set. There is no deviation from the script whatsoever, and I enjoy those too. And that's also a very specific kind of production. So it's just different muscle groups,
Right.
that you're training in these things.
Yeah. Do you have a specific genre that you'd like doing better, or maybe even one that you haven't done yet that you're kind of itching to get into and try?
I've worked a lot in horror, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just because the economics of the genre. I would be interested to work in something action, or action related, something with some fights, some fight choreography. Another thing that I do besides play piano, I actually take regular stage combat courses.
Oh, cool.
Here in the Twin Cities.
Mm-hmm.
There's a group called Art in Arms, and they have regular classes. Michael Lubke is the main guy there, and they teach classes for certification through the SAFD, Society of Fight Directors, and you learn how to use weapons, swords, broadswords, rapier, dagger, fighting unarmed, those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
I would like a chance to use those in a production situation. Although I've used like falls in a production.
Mm-hmm.
If a ghost is jumping out of nowhere and pulling you to the ground, you need a crash pad and you need to rehearse that. To make sure no one breaks a tailbone.
Mm-hmm.
But I really like to. I don't know if there's a remake of Highlander or where we can have broadswords in the middle of an urban setting, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think you already asked that question. Sorry.
Have you maybe progressed in your career as you had not necessarily expected, but maybe had hoped in the amount of time that you've been working as an actor so far?
I will say that it takes a lot longer to build a career in acting than I had initially thought.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
A lot longer.
What was your expectation?
I mean, when you're young and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and full of gusto and verve, there's this idea that I'm gonna be in a lead role in a production, and it's gonna be like in the next couple of years I'll be doing my thing. It doesn't always happen that way.
Mm-hmm.
I think those examples, like your Daisy Ridley, like Daisy Ridley, where someone is thrust to the top of the pecking order, those are few and far between. I think most actors are building their careers and finding what work they can, and wherever they can. So I learned through my years as an actor that is the way it is for most of us,
Mm-hmm.
and that this is really not a sprint. It is more of a marathon, and the thing to do to maintain your sanity is to keep doing your work, to do what you need to do to feel fulfilled as an artist. Make sure you feed yourself, but it can't be about the you can't be invested in the bright lights.
Mm-hmm.
You have to invest in the story, in the character, because that is what you are here to do. And there are opportunities, large and small, to do that. So to answer your question after that ramble, it took a lot longer than I thought. So there were a couple of years that I didn't find any work as an actor, any film work, and then I was doing stage work. So that's where I keep the juices flowing, so to speak. And it's just that you spend a lot of your time building your career, and a lot of people's first impression of you will be your reel. Well, if you're a beginning actor, you don't have a reel. Mm-mm. So it's a chicken and egg scenario. I need a reel to get work. I need to get work to build a reel. And I, got a few things that are like, oh, this is what I've done. But, that takes a while. It's taken me over a decade to build a professional reel that I can say, yes, I'm a professional. You can trust me. I'm not going to mess up your production, guys. Mm-hmm. But that's yeah. I thought I'd be in, I don't know, Hollywood or Atlanta or maybe in Louisiana doing TV, because there were those incentives at the time. But I'm in Minnesota, back home. So, yeah.
Does any part of you think that you might eventually move to, say, Hollywood or Atlanta or back to Louisiana to try for this at another level at any point?
I think that is in the cards at some point. But I also think that there is some good opportunity still here for me, and that when the time is right, then I will examine that and make that move. But I'm enjoying this. The Twin Cities is a smaller pond, and if you have a good collection of work, you can be a medium or a larger sized fish in a relatively small pond. Mm-hmm. That lends itself to, I think, more casting opportunities. Mm-hmm. So I'm happy with doing that for the time being. At some point, I'll probably bite off some of the larger stuff.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Mm-hmm. But I mean, like with the incentives going to like Georgia and I don't know, some other places, obviously, there are opportunities to maybe just travel instead of necessarily uproot everything. I don't know how that works. Some people have it down, some people don't.
It's kind of a mixed bag. Like, if you're trying to get work in Atlanta and some of these smaller markets, you would probably work as a local hire, in which case you'd have to pay for your travel and lodging if you were to get a gig in those places. But those are going to be your 5 lines or less roles. Those are going to be walk-on roles. Those aren't going to be the bigger roles, which are mostly going to be cast out of LA. Mm-hmm. That's my understanding of it anyway. So it's a mixed bag. We'll see.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So switching gears a little bit, the Time's Up movement and the Me Too movement, which you know of, I assume. Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's the Harvey Weinstein situation, and all of the stuff that has come out since that broke the news cycle.
Right. Mm-hmm. So with all of that happening, have you noticed any changes here in Minnesota in the film community, or even the theater community, really, since then? Like, has that bolstered any change here since that started?
Well, I've noticed that, since it has become a topic of discussion, I think people are more cognizant of it now, especially in horror, where it traffics in the in spectacle that permeates the boundary between taboo, right? And that is an area that is rife for abuse. And in fact, I almost worked on a production. I was luckily let go from the specific production, which I will not name, that treated its female actors very poorly. I heard horror stories about, this production that billed itself as sort of like a feminist empowerment, revenge story, was really just the set dressing to an exploitation film, and that in the filming of a specific scene, a sex scene, or a scene where someone is in the throes of passion with someone else, saying to the actors, the more you do, the more money we will make. Mm. And that is a big no-no. Mm-hmm. And I think it's things like that where people promise one thing and then something else happens. It's part of a larger story that is as old as time. It's where individuals who are in a position of power to hire people are abusing labor, are abusing those who who make a living from their labor, by pulling one over them, by making promises that they don't intend to keep, outright lying, and then putting labor in positions where they are forced to acquiesce, which is, yeah. So I think, thank goodness that we have this now in the ether, where we have an example of bad behavior that we can point to and say, this is wrong, and this should not happen anymore. And with any luck, we will not see any more of it, and that those who do will be jettisoned out of the market.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So going back a little bit, is there something that you want to do now more than ever, just in general with film?
With film?
Mm-hmm.
I want to do more ambitious work. I want to play a lead. So I've done a lot of supporting roles, smaller supporting roles. I would like to be a lead role in a feature-length production. I think that is one of the next steps for me. The other would be to get a walk-on role on a TV series, one of those broadcast TV series. Any number of those CBS TV shows that your parents and grandparents watch. Those procedural dramas are very ubiquitous, and I know everyone over 50 that I know seems to watch them. Yep. So when my grandma asks, "What do you do?" I can point to a show that she can watch. Yeah. So I think more doing higher profile work, either a feature-length role in a lead role in a feature-length film, and or a walk-on role on a TV series. Those are near and dear to my heart. The next on my list of things to do.
Yeah.
Great. Mm-hmm. Do you identify as Asian American, or how do you?
I do. I am mixed. So I'm half Caucasian, half Asian. My mom is from the Philippines, and my dad is from New Jersey. I get a laugh every time I say that.
That's great. The way you said it, really.
So I am mixed race, and that is a unique situation in that, I am Asian American and I am Caucasian too, but I'm not necessarily fully integrated to either of those.
Sure, right.
So there's a kind of alienation, I think, in that experience. Yeah.
What is your take on like Crazy Rich Asians, for example?
I love that movie.
Me too.
I saw it with my mom, and we were laughing. Oh my goodness. It is first of all, there's a star-studded cast of all these Asian actors that are great. I love Ronnie Chang to death. So that's, just from his comedic work on Comedy Central. But it shows, it's the most successful romantic comedy in a decade. Mm-hmm. And it's also the first predominantly Asian American cast also in a decade or more.
Yeah.
And the fact that it is so successful, I think makes it's proof for the bean counters, the MBAs, the business people, mm-hmm.
who
control the purse strings. They're important for film production too. It's important to create an example that others can point to and say, yes, we can cast Asian people in a production, and it may still be very successful.
Yes.
So that filmmaking, I think, when it comes to feature-length films, especially Hollywood feature-length films, there's a lot of risk aversion built into the system, because it is it's resource intensive, and because they want to make these returns on these large outlays of resources they're putting out, it's another scenario where we want to make sure we bring in successful people so that we can recoup our costs with successful actors. Well, if you've only had, actors who are non-Asian who are successful, and there are no Asian actors who fit that mold, then it's kind of this like, Asian actors don't sell, as opposed to, no, you're just risk averse to a situation that is brand new. And since we have now this movie as an example,
right,
really freaking hilarious movie.
Not only is it funny, it got obviously your universal themes,
mm-hmm.
but you also have actors from spanning 3 continents at least, like U.S., Europe, and Asia, and they all spoke English clearly.
Yes.
There wasn't like this whole, they need to be like this, or they need
mm-hmm.
to know this type of martial art or something. It was just like, no, they're just people.
Yeah, they're not Long Duck Dong, and they're not Bruce Lee.
Right.
And that's okay. That's
what do you
okay.
know? It worked.
All right. Well,
we just unpacked a lot right there.
Yeah.
Sorry. Alex, what do you want people to remember about you?
Oh my goodness. That I do my work. That they can see me in something and find enjoyment in it. Yeah. And that if they want, they can hang out and we can have a beer sometime.
Heck yeah. All right. And what is next for you?
Next, so earlier today, I had a meeting with a filmmaker. There is a science fiction web series that is going to be produced here in the Twin Cities. I actually forgot the name. I'm so sorry. But I'll be playing a smaller role in a science fiction web series in the Twin Cities. So that's next, in the next couple of months. We're just auditioning and seeing what else comes out.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And where can people find your work or contact you?
Well,
He has a sheet.
I have a sheet because I tend to forget my social media. You can find me on the usual suspects of social media: Instagram, Alex Galick, AlexGalick. Facebook, I have a personal and a actor page. Once again, Alex Galick, AlexGalick. And then on Twitter, at I've changed it here. It's A Galick, Agalick, at A Galick. There we go. And so I post semi-frequently to those, although probably not uniformly to any of them. I'm still working on my social media game, guys. But yeah, people can follow me there. They can reach out to me there, and I'm happy to field any queries your viewership may have.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for coming in and talking with us, Alex. It was amazing having you, getting to know you.
Likewise.
Right.
I've really enjoyed this very much. Thank you, Rana and Alan.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And until next time, thank you, listeners, for tuning in with us.
And this has been Film in Minnesota. See you guys in 2 weeks.